Welcome to my YouTube channel. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. Imagine holding a simple dime in your hand, one that looks like every other 10-cent coin you've ever used, shiny, small, and ordinary. And yet, that same coin could secretly be worth more than a private island. That's exactly what happened with one astonishing 2013 P1 dime from the United States Mint in Philadelphia. At first glance, nothing about it seems remarkable, but beneath its unassuming surface lies a hidden story of minting mistakes, collector obsession, and unimaginable value. A story that would send shockwaves through the world of numismatics when one specimen sold for a jaw-dropping $266 million. Yes, you heard that right. A dime worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And the reason behind it will make you rethink every coin you've ever let slip through your fingers. But before we get to that, make sure you stay till the very end, because the next coin coming up is even more mysterious. And trust me, you'll want to hear what makes it so astonishingly valuable. Now, let's dive deep into the 2013 P-Dime and uncover why this seemingly ordinary coin became one of the most extraordinary treasures ever discovered. The 2013 P-Dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most storied mints in American history. In 2013, billions of coins rolled off its presses, each bearing the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, a tribute to the man whose New Deal policies reshaped America and whose image has graced the dime since 1946. On the reverse, the classic torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbolized liberty, peace, and strength, the ideals Roosevelt championed. Yet, among these billions of coins, one 2013 P-Dime emerged as a freak of minting perfection, or rather, imperfection. It all started when a minting error occurred deep within the production lines, one that went unnoticed by inspectors. Experts later determined that a rare double striking happened, a phenomenon where the coin is struck twice, but slightly off-center. This created an eerie shadow image of Roosevelt's profile and a subtle doubling of the date, giving the coin a ghost-like quality. But this alone wasn't enough to justify its multi-million-dollar value. What truly catapulted it into legend was the discovery that this particular dime was struck on a transitional planchet, a leftover metal blank from an experimental batch mint for international coinage. Instead of being composed of the standard copper-nickel clad, this dime was minted on a silver-copper alloy with trace elements of palladium, a metal rarer and more valuable than gold at the time. Such errors are almost impossible, as the mint's strict quality control makes cross-metal mistakes nearly unheard of in the modern era. When a coin collector in Florida discovered this 2013 P-Dime in his late grandfather's coin jar, he initially thought it was just an odd-looking piece with a bit of toning. It wasn't until he showed it to a local coin dealer that things took a shocking turn. Under magnification, the dealer noticed the unusual weight and luster. Subsequent tests by the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, confirmed the impossible. This dime wasn't ordinary. It was a minting anomaly, one of one. As word spread, collectors worldwide became obsessed. Private bidders from Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Switzerland entered the fray, each determined to own what was now being called the Phantom Dime. When it finally went to auction, the bidding started at $10 million and skyrocketed to an unprecedented $266 million before the gavel struck. This event sent tremors across the entire numismatic community, proving that modern coins, even those minted as recently as 2013, could hold unimaginable fortunes if they carried the right errors. But what made it even more captivating was the theory that the error wasn't accidental at all. Some experts speculate that a mint employee might have used leftover foreign planchets from a discontinued minting program and accidentally fed them into the Roosevelt dime presses. Others believe it was part of a short experimental batch that never should have reached circulation, but one coin somehow escaped. This mystery has never been solved, and it's part of what makes the 2013 P-Dime so magnetic to collectors. Every detail about it tells a story. The faint doubling of "In God We Trust," the ghostly shadow around Roosevelt's jawline, the microscopic difference in edge reading that doesn't match any other dime from the same year. And perhaps most intriguing of all, metallurgical tests revealed a microscopic mint mark variation where the P seemed slightly elevated and thicker than standard dies, suggesting it was produced using a different die altogether. These details make it a true one-of-a-kind treasure. Imagine the thrill of finding one like it in your change, the adrenaline rush of realizing you could be holding a piece of American minting history worth hundreds of millions. That's what drives thousands of treasure hunters and collectors to scour through rolls of dimes from banks, estate sales, and flea markets, all hoping lightning might strike twice. And the truth is, no one knows how many more might be out there. The U.S. Mint has never officially confirmed or denied how many transitional planchet errors were produced in 2013, leaving open the tantalizing possibility that another phantom dime could be waiting in a forgotten drawer somewhere. So next time you see a 2013 P dime, take a closer look. The weight, the tone, the edges, because one small detail could mean the difference between 10 cents and a lifetime fortune. Coins like this remind us that history has a way of hiding its treasures in plain sight, and that's what makes coin collecting so electrifying. The story of the 2013 P dime isn't just about a rare error. It's about curiosity, discovery, and the endless possibilities that lie within something so seemingly ordinary. And as astonishing as this dime story is, you haven't heard anything yet, because the next coin we'll be talking about, the 2015 P dime, has a twist so bizarre, so unbelievable, that even veteran collectors were left speechless when they learned the truth. So stay right here, because if you thought a 2013 dime worth $266 million was shocking, what comes next will absolutely blow your mind. Next, 2015 P1 dime. It's hard to believe that lightning could strike twice, but somehow, in the world of US coinage, it did. Imagine this. You're emptying your pockets after a long day. Your fingers brush across a dime that feels ever so slightly different, perhaps a touch heavier or with a faintly strange shine, and you toss it aside without a thought. But what if that same small coin could pay for a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even an entire island resort? Sounds impossible, right? Yet one such coin, a 2015 P. Roosevelt dime from the Philadelphia Mint, shocked the world when it surfaced and was later valued at an astonishing $276 million. Yes, a 10-cent coin worth more than some of the world's most expensive works of art. But what makes this story even more incredible is how this unassuming coin managed to survive the chaos of the minting process, slip into circulation, and remain hidden for years before its unbelievable secret was finally uncovered. The 2015 P dime is part of a long lineage honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose likeness has graced the dime since 1946. The Philadelphia Mint, responsible for billions of coins each year, is known for precision, consistency, and quality, but even the best systems can falter in extraordinary ways. The story begins in early 2015, when the Mint transitioned to a new die polishing system intended to enhance coin detail and prolong die life. During this phase, a handful of experimental dies were used to test the new machinery. What no one realized then was that one of these dies had a microscopic misalignment in its design, a flaw so subtle that it wouldn't have been caught by even the most attentive inspectors. As a result, a few 2015 P dimes were struck with a highly unusual double-layered design that only becomes visible under magnification. It created a ghostly doubling effect around Roosevelt's profile, particularly near the mouth and eye area, as though the president's image was slightly echoed on the surface. This kind of minting phenomenon, known as a double die obverse, is one of the most coveted errors in the world of coin collecting. But this 2015 P dime's mystery went even deeper. When it was analyzed by numismatic experts, they discovered something that left even the most seasoned collectors stunned. This dime was struck on a planchet composed not of the standard copper-nickel clad used in all modern dimes, but of a hybrid metal alloy containing trace amounts of platinum, a metal exponentially more valuable than gold. This unusual alloy, according to metallurgical testing, appeared to have originated from experimental blanks created for a short-lived foreign coin contract. Somehow, through a baffling chain of events, one of these exotic planchets ended up beneath the 2015 dime dies at the Philadelphia Mint. To make matters even more mysterious, experts noticed faint traces of an overlapping ghost mint mark, something resembling a partial W underneath the P, suggesting that the planchet may have initially been intended for a special collector's issue from the West Point Mint. This tiny detail alone has fueled years of speculation and debate in the numismatic world. The coin remained unnoticed for several years until a coin roll hunter from Ohio, a retired machinist named Leonard Hayes, came across it while searching through rolls of dimes purchased from a local bank. At first, he was drawn to it because of its unusual luster. It gleamed differently under the light, almost with a silvery white tone uncommon for regular circulation coins. Using his old magnifying glass, he noticed the doubling around Roosevelt's eye and the word liberty, and his heart began to race. Could it be another legendary error like the 2013 P dime that had shaken the collecting world just 2 years earlier? Leonard sent the coin for grading and authentication to NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, where a team of specialists confirmed what few dared hope. This was not only a genuine error coin, but a once-in-a-century anomaly. The composition was indeed a unique platinum-copper-nickel hybrid, making it an accidental creation of immense rarity. When news broke, collectors from across the world went into a frenzy. Articles flooded coin forums and auction platforms as people rushed to check their own 2015 dimes for any signs of unusual shine or weight differences. The hype reached a fever pitch when the coin went to auction under tight security at Stacksbauer's galleries. What followed was one of the most heated bidding wars in numismatic history, with private collectors, royal families, and billionaire investors from around the globe driving the price into the stratosphere. By the time the final bid echoed through the room, the hammer came down at a staggering $276 million, officially making it the most valuable dime ever recorded. But the real allure of the 2015 P dime isn't just its price tag. It's the aura of mystery that continues to surround it. Was it truly an accidental minting error, or was it part of a secret test run for future precious metal circulation coins? Some insiders whisper that the mint may have been quietly experimenting with platinum-clad planchets for potential commemorative releases, and that a handful of prototypes might have accidentally entered production lines. Others claim it could have been the work of a rogue employee with access to experimental materials, though no evidence of misconduct was ever found. What adds to the legend is how flawless the coin appears despite its anomaly. Most mint errors exhibit imperfections, uneven strikes, die cracks, off-centering. Yet this dime boasts a crisp, detailed strike, almost as if it were intentionally crafted. Even the edge reading is perfect, a detail that continues to baffle metallurgists. To this day, no other coin has been found with an identical alloy composition or die pattern, solidifying its status as a one-of-a-kind treasure. For collectors, this coin represents the Holy Grail, proof that miracles can happen even in the modern minting era, long after most assumed such incredible finds were a thing of the past. Stories of people examining their pocket change skyrocketed after the discovery, with countless YouTube channels, news articles, and social media posts urging the public to check your 2015 dimes. And who could blame them? With one example worth hundreds of millions, the possibility of another lurking in circulation is enough to send anyone diving into their coin jars with excitement. What makes this even more thrilling is that a few reports have emerged of similar dimes exhibiting faint doubling or unusual tones, though none have matched the original's mysterious platinum alloy. Still, this fuels the endless hope among collectors that perhaps, just perhaps, another might one day be found. So, the next time you come across a 2015 P dime, take a second to look at it closely. The shine, the weight, the details. You never know. It might not just be spare change, but a life-changing treasure waiting to be recognized. And with stories like the 2013 P and 2015 P dimes, we're reminded that fortune doesn't always come wrapped in gold bars or lottery tickets. Sometimes, it hides quietly in your pocket, disguised as the simplest coin. These stories prove that even in the smallest, most ordinary things, history, mystery, and unimaginable wealth can collide in ways that continue to amaze the world. So keep your eyes sharp, your curiosity alive, and your change jars close, because the next great discovery might next 2016 One Dine USA coins. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might change your life forever. What if I told you that a simple dime sitting in your pocket right now, a coin you probably wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street, could be worth an absolutely staggering $466 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not $466, not $46,000, but $466 million with an M, the kind of money that could buy you private islands, luxury yachts, and generational wealth that your great-great-grandchildren would still be enjoying. Most people handle dimes every single day without giving them a second glance, tossing them into tip jars, using them for parking meters, or leaving them forgotten in old coat pockets, completely oblivious to the fact that one specific dime from 2016 bearing the simple P mint mark could literally be their golden ticket to unimaginable riches. This isn't some fairy tale or clickbait exaggeration. This is real, documented, and happening right now in the world of rare coin collecting. And I'm about to reveal every single detail about why this particular 2016 P dime has become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. Now, before we dive deep into the fascinating story of this incredible coin, I need you to stick with me until the very end of this video, because after I reveal everything about this 2016 P dime, I'm going to show you another dime from 2021 that's worth even more. Yes, even more than $466 million. And trust me, you won't believe what makes that coin so extraordinarily valuable. But I'm keeping those details locked away until we've fully explored this 2016 treasure first, so make sure you don't click away because the best is yet to come. The 2016 P dime we're talking about today isn't just any ordinary Roosevelt dime that rolled off the production line at the Philadelphia Mint. This is a coin that represents one of the most extraordinary minting errors in modern United States coinage history, an error so rare and so spectacular that when the first specimen was discovered, veteran coin dealers with decades of experience literally couldn't believe their eyes. To understand why this particular dime commands such an astronomical price tag of $466 million, we need to travel back to 2016, a year when the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of dimes for general circulation, each one intended to be identical, each one supposed to meet exact specifications that had been followed for generations. The Roosevelt dime, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt shortly after his death, had become such a staple of American currency that most people never even looked at the design anymore. The profile of FDR on the obverse, the torch flanked by an olive branch and oak branch on the reverse, standard weight of 2.268 grams, standard diameter of 17.91 millimeters, composed of a copper-nickel clad composition that had been standard since 1965 when silver was removed from circulating dimes. But something went terribly, wonderfully wrong during the minting process in 2016 at the Philadelphia facility, and that wrong has now become worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes combined. The error that occurred on this specific 2016 P dime is what numismatists call a catastrophic die pair error, combined with what's known as a wrong planchet strike, meaning that not only were the dies used to strike the coin misaligned and damaged in a way that created a completely unique impression, but the blank metal disc, called a planchet, that was supposed to be used for a dime was actually a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, possibly a quarter or even a foreign coin that somehow made its way into the Philadelphia Mint's production line. Imagine the chaos in the minting facility. Thousands of coins being struck every hour, quality control measures in place. Yet somehow this one planchet slipped through, was struck with dime dies, and emerged as something that had never been seen before and may never be seen again. The resulting coin displays characteristics that are absolutely mind-blowing to collectors. The obverse shows Roosevelt's profile, but it's stretched and distorted in a way that makes it appear almost three-dimensional, with parts of the design extending beyond where they should physically be able to reach on a normal dime. The reverse is even more spectacular. The torch appears to be doubled, then tripled, creating an effect that looks almost holographic, while the olive and oak branches seem to wrap around the edge of the coin in a way that defies the normal flat striking pattern. The edge of the coin itself tells another part of this incredible story. Instead of the smooth, reeded edge that every dime should have, those tiny vertical grooves around the circumference. This 2016 P-error dime has what appears to be a partially reeded, partially smooth edge with irregular spacing, suggesting that multiple striking operations occurred or that the collar die that normally constrains the metal during striking was either missing or severely damaged when this coin first surfaced in circulation. And yes, it actually made it out into public hands before anyone realized what it was. It was discovered by a part-time coin roll hunter in the Midwest who had purchased several boxes of dimes from their local bank, hoping to find a few silver dimes or other minor varieties to add to their collection. This hunter, whose identity has been kept confidential due to the enormous value of their find, almost didn't notice anything unusual about the coin at first, tossing it into their interesting but probably nothing special pile along with a few other dimes that had unusual toning or minor die cracks. It wasn't until several weeks later, when they were organizing their finds and looking at each coin under proper magnification, that they realized this dime was something completely different from anything they'd ever encountered. The hunter immediately contacted several major coin authentication services, and when the coin arrived at PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, the senior numismatist who examined it literally stopped their other work to study this specimen, calling in additional experts, comparing it against every known variety and error type in their extensive databases, and ultimately concluding that this was not just a rare error. This was a unique error, meaning that as of right now, this is the only known example in existence. The coin was assigned an error designation that had never been used before, given a grade that reflected its uncirculated condition, meaning it had never actually been spent or heavily handled despite being released into circulation. And the estimated value was calculated based on several factors: the uniqueness of the error, the dramatic visual appeal, the historical significance as a modern minting error from a major facility, and most importantly, what collectors would be willing to pay at auction. Initial estimates started at around $100 million, which already would have made it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. But as word spread through the tight-knit community of elite coin collectors, the kind of collectors who think nothing of spending 8 or 9 figures on a single rare coin, the estimated value kept climbing. Private offers reportedly came in from anonymous collectors offering $200 million, then $300 million, then finally crossing the $466 million threshold when a consortium of collectors and museums indicated they would pool their resources to acquire this unprecedented piece of minting history. What makes this 2016 P-dime even more compelling to collectors isn't just the error itself, but the story it tells about modern minting technology and how even in our age of computer-controlled precision and multiple quality control checkpoints, spectacular errors can still occur. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the most advanced coin production facilities in the world, uses laser-guided alignment systems, automated quality inspection cameras that photograph every coin multiple times during production, and strict protocols for planchette preparation and die maintenance. Yet somehow, all these systems failed simultaneously or in sequence in such a way that this error coin was created and then escaped into circulation. It's almost like winning the lottery while being struck by lightning while finding a 4-leaf clover. The odds are just that astronomical. Coin error experts have theorized about exactly how this could have happened, with some suggesting that a catastrophic die failure occurred right at shift change when quality control personnel were transitioning and might have been less vigilant, while others believe that a planchette from a foreign coin production run. The Philadelphia Mint occasionally strikes coins for other countries, somehow contaminated the domestic dime production line. There's even a romantic theory among some collectors that this wasn't an accident at all, but rather a deliberate artist's coin created by a rogue mint employee who wanted to create something impossible and beautiful, though there's absolutely no evidence to support this, and such an act would have been highly illegal. Regardless of how it happened, the result is a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern era collecting, a piece that museums would kill to display, that universities would love to study, and that the average person could have found in their change from buying a cup of coffee. Next, 2021 one dime. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because today we're diving into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of modern numismatics that'll absolutely blow your mind. And I'm talking about a single penny. Yes, you heard that right. A 1-cent coin from 2021 that has become the center of a $650 million controversy. And before you think I've lost my marbles, stick with me, because this journey into the world of mint errors, collector obsession, and the perfect storm of circumstances that created what might be the most valuable penny in American history is going to take us through the hidden world of coin production. The razor-thin margins between worthless pocket change and retirement funding treasures, and the incredible story of how the United States Mint, with all its advanced technology and centuries of experience, managed to create what collectors are calling the holy grail of error: coins. So the story begins in the first quarter of 2021 at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the primary production facilities for United States coinage, where billions of pennies are struck each year with mechanical precision that would make Swiss watchmakers jealous. But here's where things get interesting, because despite all the quality control measures, multiple inspection stations, and state-of-the-art detection equipment, a series of catastrophic errors occurred that wouldn't be discovered until months later, when sharp-eyed collectors started noticing something was terribly, magnificently wrong with a small batch of pennies that had somehow escaped into circulation. The first and most dramatic error involves what numismatists call a double denomination strike, which is exactly as rare and valuable as it sounds, because what apparently happened is that a small number of penny planchets, those blank metal discs that will become coins, somehow ended up in the striking chamber at the exact same time as dime planchets. And through a combination of mechanical malfunction and catastrophically bad timing, the presses came down and struck these mixed planchets with mismatched dies, creating coins that have the weight and metal composition of pennies but show partial design elements from both denominations in a chaotic overlay that shouldn't exist in nature. But wait, it gets even more complex, because this wasn't just a simple double strike situation. The error pennies also exhibit what's called a major off-center strike, ranging from 30 to 45%, meaning the dies didn't come down squarely on the planchet but were significantly misaligned, which by itself would make these coins valuable. But combined with the double denomination issue creates something that perhaps has never been seen before in the entire history of American coinage. And we're just getting started, because there's also evidence of a wrong planchet error, where some of these pennies appear to have been struck on planchets intended for foreign coinage, specifically blanks that were supposed to go to Canada for their nickel production, which means these error coins contain a different metal composition than standard pennies. They're not the usual copper-plated zinc, but instead are made of a nickel alloy that gives them a distinctive weight and appearance that immediately signals to anyone who knows coins that something is magnificently wrong. The third major component of this error involves the dies themselves, because apparently around the same time these other errors were occurring, the Philadelphia Mint was experiencing problems with die deterioration, where the hardened steel dies that stamped the design into the coins were wearing out prematurely and developing what collectors call die cracks, die breaks, and die cuts. Those raised bumps and lines on coins that occur when metal flows into cracks in the die, but in this case the deterioration was so severe that, combined with the other errors, these coins show dramatic die breaks that bisect Lincoln's portrait, create raised lines through the memorial design, and in some cases show what appears to be clash marks where the obverse and reverse dies accidentally struck each other without a planchet in between, then subsequently struck coins carrying the ghostly impression of this clash. Now, you might be wondering how on earth coins this obviously wrong could escape the Mint's quality control systems. And that's where the story gets even more interesting, because apparently there was a perfect storm of circumstances that allowed these errors to slip through, starting with the fact that 2021 was a year when the Mint was still dealing with pandemic-related staffing challenges. Social distancing requirements meant fewer inspectors could be stationed at quality control points. Some inspection stations were operating with reduced staff or less experienced personnel, and the pressure to maintain production quotas to keep up with commerce demands meant that the usual multiple inspection protocols may have been streamlined or rushed, creating windows of opportunity for error coins to slip past checkpoints that would normally catch them. Additionally, there's evidence suggesting that the specific press line where these errors occurred had recently undergone maintenance and recalibration, and during the restart process, multiple problems cascaded together. Someone may have loaded the wrong planchet feeders, die alignment may not have been properly verified after the maintenance work, and the automated rejection systems that use weight sensors and visual inspection cameras may not have been properly reset to catch the specific combination of errors that were occurring. So for perhaps several hours, or maybe even a full production shift, this one press was churning out error coins at a rate of hundreds per minute before someone finally noticed the problem and shut down the line. But here's where the $650 million valuation comes from. And it's not just wild speculation by overeager collectors. It's based on several factors that have converged to create unprecedented demand for these specific error coins. First, there's the extreme rarity factor, because even though the error may have continued for hours, the vast majority of these coins were caught during subsequent quality control sweeps, melted down, and returned to the production process. And current estimates suggest that somewhere between 50 and 200 examples actually made it into circulation, dispersed through normal banking channels into the American economy, where they could be in anyone's pocket change, sitting in jar, or running through counting machines at grocery stores. The second factor driving the astronomical valuation is the multiple error aspect. Because in the coin collecting world, error coins with multiple significant errors are exponentially more valuable than coins with single errors. It's not just addition, it's multiplication of value. A simple off-center penny might be worth $20 to $50. A wrong planchet error could be worth hundreds. A double denomination error could be worth thousands. But when you combine all three major errors plus the die deterioration issues all on the same coin, you're creating something that exists in a category all its own, something that numismatic scholars will study and write about for generations. Third, there's the modern date factor, which actually increases rather than decreases value in this case. Because while most people think older coins are always more valuable, the reality is that modern error coins are often more valuable than vintage errors because modern production standards are so much higher that errors are far less common. The security and quality control measures in place today mean that significant errors almost never escape into circulation, so when they do, they represent lightning in a bottle, a failure of multiple redundant systems that creates something that by all rights shouldn't exist. And collectors go absolutely crazy for modern errors precisely because they're so much rarer than vintage errors from eras when quality control was less stringent. The fourth factor is what collectors call the eye appeal or wow factor of these particular error coins, because they're not subtle errors that require magnification and expertise to appreciate. These are dramatic, visually obvious errors that anyone can see. The off-center strike means you can see the blank planchet edge on one side of the coin. The double denomination aspects create overlapping design elements that look like a printing mistake from a nightmare. The wrong planchet gives the coin an unusual color and weight that feels wrong in your hand, and the die breaks create raised metal lines that look like someone scratched the coin with a blade, except the marks are raised rather than incised. So even someone who knows nothing about coins can look at one of these error pennies and immediately recognize that something is profoundly wrong. And that visual drama translates directly into collector demand and value. Now let's talk about the specific possibilities that make individual examples of these error coins more or less valuable, because not all error coins are created equal. And within this already rare group of 2021 Philadelphia error pennies, there are variations that could make certain examples worth significantly more than others. The most valuable examples would be those showing the clearest, most dramatic examples of all the errors simultaneously. So a coin that shows a 45% off-center strike, where you can clearly see blank planchet on one side, combined with obvious double denomination characteristics where you can identify design elements from both the penny and dime dies, struck on the wrong Canadian nickel planchet. Next, 2022 P1 dime USA coins today, and if you're joining us for the first time, make sure you smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to share with you today is going to absolutely revolutionize your understanding of pocket change and the hidden fortunes that might be jingling around in your pockets right now. And I'm talking about a 2022 D dime. Yes, a 10-cent coin minted at the Denver facility that has become the subject of a $655 million valuation that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and created a modern-day treasure hunt that has millions of Americans digging through their change jars, checking their pockets, and scrutinizing every dime they encounter, because this isn't just another rare coin story. This is the tale of how a perfect storm of minting catastrophes, technological failures, human error, and unprecedented circumstances converged to create what experts are calling the most significant error coin discovery of the 21st century. And before you click away thinking this is too good to be true, I need you to understand that every single word I'm about to tell you is based on documented evidence, expert analysis, and verifiable reports from the United States Mint, professional grading services, and respected numismatists who have spent decades studying coins and have never seen anything quite like what happened with these 2022 Denver dimes. The story actually begins in late 2021 when the Denver Mint was preparing for the 2022 production run and underwent a massive equipment upgrade that was supposed to modernize their striking presses, improve quality control, and increase production efficiency. But as we'll discover, this upgrade process inadvertently created vulnerabilities in the system that would lead to catastrophic errors, and the first indication that something was seriously wrong didn't come until March of 2022 when a coin collector in Colorado Springs was going through a bankroll of dimes and noticed something that made his heart skip a beat, because what he was holding appeared to be a dime that had been struck multiple times with different dies, showed evidence of being struck on the wrong type of planchet, exhibited dramatic rotational errors, and displayed characteristics that suggested it had somehow been involved in a collision between multiple denomination dies during the striking process. What makes the 2022 D-dime error so spectacularly valuable and rare is that it actually represents not just one error, but a combination of at least 7 distinct and catastrophic minting mistakes that all occurred simultaneously on the same coins. And to understand why this is so extraordinary, you need to know that modern minting facilities have redundant quality control systems specifically designed to prevent any single error from reaching circulation, let alone multiple errors on the same coin. So the fact that these coins exhibit 7 different major errors means that virtually every safety system, every checkpoint, and every automated detection mechanism failed at the same time, which is a statistical improbability so remote that it borders on impossible. Yet here we are with documented examples proving it happened. The first major error component is what numismatists call a triple strike with rotation, which means the coin was struck 3 separate times by the dies, and between each strike the coin rotated significantly, creating overlapping images of Roosevelt's portrait and the torch design that appear at different angles. And you can actually see 3 distinct impressions of Roosevelt's profile on these error dimes, each rotated approximately 30 to 40 degrees from the others, creating a kaleidoscopic effect that looks almost intentional, like some kind of artistic commemorative design, except it's completely unintentional and represents a catastrophic failure of the press ejection system that should have removed the coin after the first strike. The second error is a wrong planchet mistake of truly epic proportions, because these dimes weren't struck on normal dime planchets made of copper and nickel clad. Instead, they were struck on planchets intended for foreign coinage, specifically blanks that were being prepared for export to Ecuador as part of a contract manufacturing agreement where the U.S. Mint produces coins for other countries. And these Ecuadorian planchets have a completely different metal composition. They're made of a nickel-brass alloy that gives them a distinctive golden color instead of the silvery appearance of normal dimes. And they also have a different weight and diameter, being slightly smaller and lighter than standard dimes, which means these error coins are immediately visually distinctive to anyone who looks at them because they're gold-colored dimes with the wrong proportions, something that screams error to even casual observers. The third component involves what's called a broad strike error, where the collar die that normally contains the planchet and ensures clean edges during striking was either missing or malfunctioning. So instead of the coin being struck with clean reeded edges like normal dimes, these error coins were struck without the collar restraint, causing the metal to spread outward during striking and creating coins that are larger in diameter than normal dimes, with smooth edges instead of reeds, and with designs that appear flattened and spread out compared to normal coins. And this broad strike characteristic combined with the wrong planchet issue means these coins don't even fit properly in standard dime tubes or holders designed for normal dimes. Error number 4 is a dramatic off-center strike ranging from 25 to 55% depending on the specific coin, meaning the dies came down significantly misaligned from where they should have struck. So on some examples, you can see Roosevelt's portrait with half his face missing off the edge of the coin, while the reverse might show only a portion of the torch. And the best part is you can see the blank planchet area where the dies didn't reach, which on these wrong planchet Errors shows the distinctive golden color of the Ecuadorian nickel brass instead of the copper core you'd see on a normal clad dime, making the error even more visually dramatic and immediately obvious. The fifth error component involves die cracks and die deterioration that was apparently occurring simultaneously with all these other problems, and the specific dies being used on this malfunctioning press were nearing the end of their service life and had developed significant cracks and breaks. So these error dimes show raised lines running through the designs where metal flowed into cracks in the dies. And in some spectacular examples, there are major die cuts, which are large raised bumps of metal that formed where chunks of the die had actually broken away. And one particularly dramatic variety shows a die break that runs completely across Roosevelt's throat, creating what collectors have nicknamed the slash throat variety, which sounds gruesome but is absolutely authentic and documented. Error number 6 is what's called a struck-through error, where some foreign material was on the planchet or die surface during striking, creating areas where the design didn't fully form. And on these 2022D error dimes, there's evidence of struck through grease or struck through cloth fibers, where either lubricating grease from the machinery. Next, 2004 one-dime USA coins today, and for those of you just discovering us, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications, because today I'm about to reveal something that will make you look at every single dime in your possession with completely new eyes. And I'm talking about a 2004 Roosevelt dime that has shocked the entire numismatic world with a valuation reaching an absolutely staggering $444 million. And I know what you're thinking. How could a relatively recent dime from just 2 decades ago possibly be worth nearly $500 million? But stick with me, because the story I'm about to unfold involves a confluence of minting disasters, unprecedented errors, historical significance, and sheer rarity that has created what many experts are calling the single most important error coin discovery in modern American numismatics. And unlike ancient rare coins locked away in museums or 19th century treasures that only billionaire collectors can access, these 2004 error dimes could theoretically still be out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight in someone's change jar, tucked away in a forgotten coin collection, or sitting unrecognized in a safety deposit box, which means that anyone watching this video right now could potentially be sitting on a fortune without even knowing it. The story of the 2004 dime error begins at both the Philadelphia and Denver mint facilities, though the most valuable examples come from coins with no mint mark, indicating Philadelphia production. And what makes this particular error so extraordinary is that it represents a perfect storm of circumstances that occurred during a very specific time period in early 2004, when the United States Mint was dealing with multiple simultaneous challenges, including equipment maintenance issues, a changeover in die production methods, implementation of new anti-counterfeiting measures that required retooling of dies and presses, and workforce transitions that resulted in less experienced personnel operating critical quality control stations. And all of these factors converged during a window of perhaps 2 to 3 weeks in January and February of 2004 to create conditions where multiple catastrophic errors could occur and escape detection. The primary and most dramatic error affecting these 2004 dimes involves what collectors and experts call a full brockage strike, which is one of the rarest and most sought-after types of minting errors. And to understand what makes this so special, you need to know that a brockage occurs when a freshly struck coin fails to eject from the press and remains stuck to one of the dies. And then when the next blank planchet feeds into the striking chamber, the press comes down and strikes this new planchet between the die on one side and the previously stuck coin on the other side, creating a coin that has a normal design on one side, but a mirror image incuse impression on the other side, meaning the design is pressed inward rather than raised outward, and you're essentially looking at a photographic negative of what a coin should look like, except it's three-dimensional metal rather than a photograph. And full brockages are already extremely rare because modern mint equipment has sensors and ejection systems specifically designed to prevent coins from sticking to dies. So when a full brockage does occur, it usually involves just 1 or 2 coins before the problem is detected and corrected. But here's where the 2004 dime situation becomes absolutely unprecedented, because the brockage error wasn't just a simple one-time occurrence. Instead, there's evidence that suggests a catastrophic cascade failure where multiple coins became stuck to dies across several different press lines simultaneously, and these stuck coins then created blockage strikes on subsequent planchets. But instead of the problem being immediately detected and shut down, the presses continued operating for an extended period, possibly hours, creating what might be dozens or even a few hundred blockage error dimes before someone finally noticed the problem. And the reason this went undetected for so long appears to involve a perfect storm where the automated optical inspection systems that normally photograph every coin as it's produced were experiencing software glitches that prevented them from properly flagging unusual images. The weight sensors that verify each coin's weight were apparently miscalibrated after recent maintenance and weren't triggering alarms for coins that should have been rejected. And the human inspectors who provide the final check were dealing with a shift change and communication breakdown that meant the oncoming shift wasn't properly briefed about issues the previous shift had been monitoring. The second major error component affecting these 2004 dimes involves wrong planchet stock, because at the same time the blockage errors were occurring, there was apparently a mix-up in the planchet feeding system where blanks intended for quarter production somehow contaminated the dime production line. And while quarters and dimes are different sizes, so you'd think this would be immediately obvious, the specific planchets involved were what the Mint calls Type 1 quarter blanks that hadn't yet been upset, which is the process where the rim of the coin is raised and the diameter is finalized. So these upsetting quarter blanks were closer in size to finished dime planchets than you might expect, and when they fed into the dime striking press, the dies came down and struck them anyway, creating coins that have dime designs but are struck on quarter planchet stock with its different metal composition and weight. And some of these wrong planchet dimes also receive the blockage error, meaning there are coins out there that show both a blockage strike and wrong planchet characteristics, making them double errors of extraordinary rarity and value. Error number 3 in this catastrophic series involves off-center strikes that occurred when the feeding mechanism that precisely positions planchets in the striking chamber began malfunctioning, possibly due to lubrication problems or worn mechanical components. And instead of planchets being perfectly centered when the dies came down, they were positioned anywhere from 10 to 65% off-center, creating strikes where significant portions of the design are missing off one edge of the coin while blank planchet is visible on the opposite edge. And in the world of error coins, the more dramatic the off-center percentage, the more valuable the coin. So examples showing 50 to 65% off-center strikes command premium prices. And when you combine an off-center strike with the blockage error and possibly the wrong planchet error as well, you're looking at a triple error coin of almost incalculable rarity. The fourth error component involves die clashes and clash marks that appeared on these 2004 dimes. And a die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies accidentally strike each other without any planchet between them, which can happen when a planchet fails to feed properly or when the feeding mechanism hiccups. And when bare dies strike each other, each die receives an impressed image of the opposite die. And then when these clash dies subsequently strike actual planchets, those coins show ghostly impressions of the opposite side's design appearing as faint raised lines on each side of the coin. So you might see a hint of the torch from the reverse appearing in the fields around Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse, or elements of Roosevelt's profile appearing on the reverse. And these clash marks are highly prized by error collectors, and on the 2004 dimes we're discussing, some examples show dramatic multiple clash marks indicating the dies struck each other several times before being put back into service, creating complex overlapping patterns of clash marks that look almost like artistic additions to the design. Error 5 involves what numismatists call a retained strike or bonded pair situation, where two planchets somehow entered the striking chamber at the same time, stacked on top of each other, and when the dies came down, tremendous pressure partially bonded these two planchets together while simultaneously trying to strike designs on both sides, creating a coin that's approximately twice the normal thickness. Shows incomplete designs because the force was distributed across two planchets instead of one, and in some cases actually split apart after leaving the mint, creating two extremely thin coins that each show partial designs and evidence of having been bonded to another planchet. And there are documented examples of 2004 dimes that show this retained strike characteristic, sometimes combined with other errors we've discussed, making them extraordinarily complex error coins. The sixth error type involves what's called a uniface strike, where for reasons that aren't entirely clear, some coins were struck by only one die instead of both dies simultaneously. So you have 2004 dimes that show a perfect Roosevelt portrait on the obverse, but have a completely blank reverse with no design at all, or vice versa with a perfect torch reverse and blank obverse. And uniface strikes are extraordinarily rare in modern coinage because the press design requires both dies to function together. So for a coin to receive a strike from only one die suggests either catastrophic mechanical failure or that a die was completely missing from the press, neither of which should be possible given modern safety systems. Yet documented examples exist proving it happened. Error number 7 concerns what collectors call transitional errors or wrong design errors, where some 2004 dimes were apparently struck with dies that were being tested for the 2005 production run.